I'm Steve Turano with Ask a Real Expert. Hey Phil, here's your video about gaining muscle and losing fat at the same time. Hey, better late than never. I'm going to talk about two concepts, gaining muscle and losing fat, and then I'm going to talk about eating clean, which I hear so much about. I want to choke people in the gym. Let me talk about gaining muscle and losing fat first. Let me use an analogy that people can probably better understand. If you run a 15-minute mile, you really don't have to train very hard to maintain that level of performance. And if you stopped running for a couple weeks, you could then probably come back and still run a 15-minute mile. But if you're running a 4-minute mile, you're in pretty damn good shape. And you've got to train consistently and intelligently to maintain that performance. And if you skip a couple weeks, your performance is going to go down drastically. You can't come back after 3 or 4 weeks off and run a 4-minute mile. Same thing with bodybuilding. Okay? If you're going to the gym and you're kind of doing your thing, but you're not training very hard or heavy or consistently or intelligently, there's a lot of room for improvement. So I take tons of guys who say they want to train with me, and the first thing they ask is, what should I eat? I go, don't worry about it. Your eating's not going to make you muscular. Your training is going to make you muscular. Your eating will make you leaner, but your eating will not make you muscular, because building muscle is not a function of eating. Building muscle is a function of adaptation to an outside stress. So when you take a guy who hasn't trained very hard or very heavy or very intelligently or very consistently, and you put him in the gym and you force him to train, his muscles are not used to that type of training. So they become bigger, and he gets bigger and stronger. And the additional training, the harder training, the additional recovery, and the additional muscles use up a small amount of calories. Not as much as the magazines say and not as much as the websites want you to believe, but it burns up some additional calories. And after 3, 4, 5, 6 months, next thing you know, you're bigger, you're more muscular, and you're leaner without changing your diet at all. Now you take a guy who's been training for years, and he's training hard, and he's training heavy, like my partner Justin. When he started training with me, he put on probably 25 or 30 pounds of muscle, and he lost a lot of body fat. But now he's been training that way for a long time. So for Justin or somebody like him to lose body fat, he's going to have to cut his calories or do a significant amount of cardiovascular activity. And when you lose body fat, either from dieting or from additional cardio, while being very muscular and you're already training heavy, unfortunately you're going to sacrifice a certain amount of muscle because you need those extra calories in fats, proteins, or carbohydrates to maintain that type of muscularity. Because again, you need a certain amount of caloric intake to feed those muscles. And by maintaining or taking in those additional calories to maintain the muscle, unfortunately not all of those calories are utilized by the body and they're stored as fat. So again, once you've maintained a certain level of muscularity and you have a certain level of body fat, you've got to cut your caloric intake. And unfortunately, no matter how hard or heavy or consistently you train, you're going to sacrifice a certain amount of muscle when you have a calorie deficit if you're at the pinnacle of fitness levels. Now, this next concept is sort of associated with it. People ask, well, if I clean up my diet, I'll pack on more muscle. That's not true, okay? Because eating doesn't make you muscular. It's weight training that makes you muscular. So I don't give a shit what kind of protein you eat. Protein is protein. Yeah, I know what the magazines say. I get it. Okay, but we take in more than enough good quality protein even with a shitty diet. Okay? And if additional protein would make you magically more muscular, then all these chicks I know who are trying to train for bodybuilding shows and fitness shows, they're sucking down protein shakes and eating 19 meals a day like they're going out of style. And they're all whining, God, I'm still 140 pounds. I can't lose my weight. Well, stop eating all that fucking protein. I don't give a shit if it comes from the best company in the world and it's the most clean protein in the world. Extra calories will make you fat. And protein doesn't make you muscular. Training does. Okay? If extra protein made you muscular, then every ex-football player would still be big and muscular instead of big and fat. Okay? It's causing the muscles to compensate for an outside stress, which is training. That forces the body to utilize muscle to create your muscles, to help build muscle fibers and cause muscular hypertrophy. So protein alone doesn't do it. Now, a cleaner diet, that's when guys talk about how many eat clean. A cleaner diet will definitely help with additional body fat. Absolutely. So if you clean up your diet, if you train harder, the leaning up process will happen faster. The muscle building process is going to happen because you're training harder, smarter, and heavier. Now, if you want the leaning up process to occur faster while the muscle building process is occurring, you have to clean your diet up. So that means less fats, better carbohydrates, things like that. Now, with regards to the amounts of protein you need, the body needs very little protein. I don't give a shit how muscular you are, okay? The USDA says 60 grams a day, and you know what? That's twice as much as you normally need. Yes, I know. Nobody's going to believe it. You know why? Because the fucking magazines don't say it and the websites don't say it. You know why? Because they're sponsored by protein manufacturers. Okay, this is how the world really works. But you also have to remember this. Think about all the fish, chicken, and beef weightlifters or people just eat in general. Then think about all the eggs, milk, cheeses that contain protein that people eat. How about the beans and the legumes? All contain protein. How about the carbohydrates that naturally contain protein? How about all the carbohydrates that are fortified with proteins? So we are getting more than enough protein in our average daily diets to build more muscle than we know what to do with. The trick is to take that protein and make your body utilize it. So by training harder and heavier, you can, again, convert all those additional calories into muscles. And if you're eating cleaner, you can lose body fat at the same time. Very, very important. And also remember this. If you're a bodybuilder, what are you thinking about? Well, I want to cut down on my body fat levels, so let me cut down on the amount of fat I'm eating. Okay? So by lowering your fat intake, you say, well, wait a minute. If I cut out fats, I'm going to lower my calorie intake. But I have to maintain my calories, so what am I going to eat more of? Protein and carbohydrates. Wow, so by lowering your fat, you cut your calories, but you got to maintain your calories so you can train and recover, so you automatically eat more protein. Again, got more protein than you know what to do with. Okay? And you can't cut your carbohydrates back that much because they're utilized for recovery, and they're also utilized for energy too. Talk to anybody on a low-carb diet, they are in the toilet. So anyway, these are some of the concepts that if you really understood physiology, you wouldn't get upset about certain things. You'd listen to people in the gym and you'd go, wow, dude, you are full of shit. Also, if you need a pre-workout, GFP, GreatFatLossPill.com. Go there. If you were to purchase this is 1 month, okay? This is 60 tablets. Take 1 tablet before you go work out, okay? It's the same energy as 1 cup of coffee. It also helps quell your appetite, helps decrease cortisol production, helps your body utilize fat, and if you're dieting, helps crunch your hunger too as well. So again, GreatFatLossPill.com. I'm Steve Turano. Train smart, train hard.